Welcome back to the Morning Blend. We can all relate to the feeling of being stressed, right? But there are some hidden symptoms related to stress that can signal a more serious impact on our health.
That's right. Dr. Tiffany Mullen is back from Vital Health to help us understand this type of stress called adrenal fatigue and how functional medicine can provide help. Good to see you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm impressed by your penguin singing. That was awesome.
It's the exact same as my squishable toy on my door.
Oh, I mean, it really was quite convincing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought
Thank
it was
you
good
very
too.
much. This is I think adrenal fatigue was kind of like a buzzword a few years ago. Everybody was like, oh, I have adrenal fatigue.
Yeah.
But nobody really understood quite what it was. So how do you, it's a true diagnosable issue.
It is a true diagnosable issue, but I think in full transparency, I think it's kind of a little bit of a misnomer as well. So adrenal fatigue doesn't exactly describe what's happening when people feel this type of fatigue or stress. It's actually a more complicated mechanism that involves 3 glands, not just the adrenals, which sit on top of the kidneys and produce all of our known stress hormones like cortisol, but it's actually also the 2 glands in the brain, the hypophysis and the pituitary gland, that are incredibly important in signaling that adrenal. Interestingly, those glands are right next to areas of input, like the eye nerves, and areas of memory and areas of emotion.
Yeah.
So there's a design to that, and I think describing it as HPA axis dysregulation, which is really what's going on, instead of adrenal fatigue, is what we're talking about. But for the purposes of the show, adrenal fatigue is a lot easier to say. So
But
we're
it
gonna
is
stick with
sort
that.
of, I've read some information that's sort of been mislabeled based on the things that you just said.
It
which I
has
think
been.
is
And
important
dismissed.
to note. And
Yes,
dismissed
and dismissed,
also.
yes.
And it tends to be kind of this long-term chronic stress, even kind of what we consider to be low level,
Yes.
maybe for most of us, over time is what hurts us. And so I think we understand what it means to be stressed in our mind,
Right.
but how does it manifest in our bodies?
Yeah, so people talk about feeling stressed, right? This feeling of an emotional component. I feel stressed, which means I might feel wound up, or I might feel anxious, or maybe even sort of blah or depressed. So there's a feeling piece that we all identify with, and we can talk about that. But what we don't really talk about or understand is that those hormones that are translating those feelings, that input that's coming into us as a potential stress, and then how that manifests in the body.
Gives us belly fat.
Gives
right?
us belly fat,
Yep.
yes, and all kinds of other problems that we might not go like, hey, wait, that's a stress thing. It's not something else, it's actually the stress. And it doesn't necessarily have to be some catastrophic thing, a death in the family or a divorce or something that would obviously stress us. It could be just life, pings and dings and mom's running around and everyone's relying on you and we don't have time for self-care. All of that can lead to problems with your adrenals.
So what are some of the symptoms? Because, you said it's next to your emotional gland or whatever, your memory.
Yes.
So I always think of those types of things as being
Yes.
associated with adrenal fatigue.
Yeah, we actually have a little slide to show you the symptoms. I don't think we can bring those up. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, here
so
they are.
people feel exhausted all the time, no matter how much they sleep. They're waking up exhausted, they're going to bed exhausted, and they may actually feel wired at the same time. So we call this tired and wired, where they're just exhausted but they can't sleep. They feel like they need caffeine to get going, which is exactly the opposite of what you should be doing in this case. They develop problems with insomnia, both falling asleep and staying asleep. Difficulty focusing, what people describe as this brain fog, this thing hanging over them all the time. That belly weight gain that you talked about. Mood swings that can be both depression and anxiety type symptoms, and then even digestive issues can prop up from adrenal problems. So a whole host of things that people may not connect with stress that are really common with stress.
How do you diagnose this?
So a simple test can be used. So I brought one today. So this is a home-based test kit that we use at Vital Health. It is a saliva test. So
Hold
it's
that
keep
for
holding
just one
that.
second.
it is
Yeah,
a
so I'm gonna
saliva
get a shot
test.
of it.
Yeah. So we
Got
do this
that,
at
Dave?
home.
There you go.
There we go. I should
Yeah.
have gotten a manicure. So
We say that every day.
this is a test that is simply done at home. It's 4 saliva samples done at timed times throughout the day. And then if you plot those, and we can see that on the slide here. So on the left side, we have what looks like a normal rhythm of cortisol. So this is a diurnal rhythm. Cortisol goes up in the middle of the night, peaks in the morning, and then cascades down through the rest of the day. And then the next night, it pops up again. So we call this almost like a roller coaster,
And that's
diurnal
the
rhythm.
healthy pattern.
That's healthy. healthy. So you see those 4 black dots. Those are the 4 salivary cortisol measurements that particular person took. And you can see they're all right nice in the middle green section. If you look at the graph on the right, what you're looking at is someone whose cortisol is very, very high in the middle of the night and even high as they're going to bed. So that is somebody who probably is going to have insomnia. That's a particular patient.
Tired and wired.
Tired and wired. I'm exhausted, but I can't go to sleep and I can't stay asleep. My eyes are popping open at 3 o'clock in the morning and I can't go back to sleep. That's what it looks like. And so it is something that we can actually measure. And when we measure it, it makes it real for people. And then they think, okay, I can see it now. I don't just feel it.
Yeah.
I can see it. I can measure it.
How do you fix it?
So I think this is where functional medicine really shines. Functional medicine's approach to stress, adrenal problems, lifestyle. Lifestyle is a big part of it. Lifestyle is typically what gets us there, and it is also what really helps. So focusing on nutrition, focusing on proper sleep, focusing on managing stress. And it doesn't have to be a major overhaul. I mean, we don't just get to step out of our lives into some great spa for a year. We actually have to still go, how do we manage our lives in a better way that allows us?
You say no more.
We say no more. We say me more. We say I'm going to get to the top of the list. I'm not just going to constantly put other people at the top of the list. And it's the nutrition part I think is really important. And then the timeliness and the type of exercise. But also it's botanical medicine. There's herbal medicine that can be used, different types, and it can become highly personalized. Things we call adaptogen herbs. Adaptogens are things that have been used for a long time by indigenous peoples to modulate stress response. So depending on if your cortisol is high or if it's low or if it's at different times, we can hand pick different approaches for that.
I think people are going to be shocked taking this test how many people have issues with this particular thing, which I think has been mislabeled. Some people call it adrenal fatigue. But here's the deal. You can take a symptom quiz if you visit Vital Health online.
I took it.
It's vitalhealth.com. You can also call toll-free 855-998-4900, and they can talk more about getting the kit, getting tested, seeing you or another doctor. And you do so much online with the virtual visits.
It's all video, and it's experts from across the country. So
Wonderful.
yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's great.